What do you know? What do you call a pig that knows karate?
Pork chop.
A pork chop. That's right.
Hey, I heard this on the radio.
Right.
You know how your last sermon at church Sunday was talking about how we
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of weirdos and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Well, this pastor was getting on the train, and one of his people in his congregation got on the train with him, and she was like, "Why is there so many weird people at church all the time?" And he said, "I guess the light draws bugs."
Yeah, the light draws bugs. That's right. Okay. So why do cows have hooves? Because they lack toes. You know how some days, Sundays, can be kind of sad? But but the day before is even a Saturday.
Second Kings 8:16.
What's it say?
In the 5th year of Israel's king Joram, son of Ahab, Jehoram, son of Jehoshaphat, became king of Judah, replacing his father.
Okay.
Okay.
So, how do you spell that? His name?
Joram.
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 Yeah. So what was your question was who that wasn't the name of the guy you were asking about.
Yeah, it was at Ahab.
Yeah, but I think it's right here before it's let's see. I was wondering if it was because the kings back there in them times had plenty of wives.
Right.
So was that Jezebel's son or was that one of his other wives? So,
Well, read what you were.
okay.
Ahab's daughter was his wife.
Oh, how sick. All right. Okay. All right. Well, that
What's
makes
what's the scripture though that you're thinking about? You asked a particular name.
That's
Jeroboam.
Jeroboam. It's Jeroboam.
Right. Hey Siri, who is King Jeroboam in the Bible? No. So back in that day, they had two. The kingdom was split. You had the kings of Judah, and you had the kings of Israel.
Okay, how did that happen? Did that happen when they got over into Canaan and it was just too many people over there? And they
No, because the kings didn't come along till after the come on. No, come on. The that didn't. So you didn't have kings until Saul and David came along. So they were already in their promised land and everything like that. It happened when the descendants of David's and his sons began to fight amongst themselves, and so they split. And typically in the Bible, the kings of Judah were truer to the heart of David, and they were truer to God. But they had a smaller territory. I think they only made up of basically two tribes, and then the other 10 tribes were more secular, and they had most of the evil kings and stuff like that. But for the most part, they were allied one with another as they were kings. They didn't do a whole lot of fighting amongst themselves, but still they were split. There was the kings of the north and the king of Judah. So, and Judah was again symbolic of the heart of David. He was from the tribe of Judah. So I don't know if that they were still operating under the two king system when you're talking about so in the books of Chronicles and the books of Kings, you'll see kind of like sometimes a split story where it's recording the events of what the kings of Judah are doing, and then at the same time recording what the kings of the north are doing, sometimes how they come together and what they deal with.
So in a way, it's like you got to read it like the New Testament, like when Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. It's just from
Right.
another perspective.
Another perspective, and then you got to kind of sometimes back up and look at the timeline, and whose sons are who, and what's what's going on that way.
The Manasseh tribe, they got kind of jilted. I mean, they didn't get nothing hardly.
Yeah, they were so that Manasseh was actually, if I'm correct, Manasseh came out of Joseph. So there were the 12 sons. Joseph was a son, but you don't hear of the tribe of Joseph.
Right.
So there's no tribe of Joseph because they assumed that he was dead for all this time, but he was really in Egypt. Right. And so Manasseh was kind of the replacement for Joseph's tribe. Okay. And yeah. And then which one was the Levite? The Levites, that was the son that was all the priests came from. And so when they came into the promised land, they didn't get a section of land that was their own to govern. Because they received a tenth from all the other tribes. So again, see, and when you understand, and I'll go into a little bit of tithing with these people, God doesn't require a tithe. Listen, God is the God of order, and He doesn't change. Like you'll see the organization of God through it. It just doesn't change. From the beginning to the end. He before there was the law of tithing, He required Cain and Abel and all of them to give a tithe. And then it became a law later amongst in Deuteronomy and all the Levitical rights and laws. And they say, oh, well, but when Jesus came, He did away with all this. Well, let me just tell you, Jesus didn't do away with organization. He didn't do away with structure. He didn't do away with He didn't do away with any of that stuff as far as the reason and the power behind the law. So you could say, well, okay, when Jesus came, they said, okay, now it's okay to eat pork, right? And it's okay to eat all this non-kosher stuff, which we do. Praise Jesus. I love pork. I love barbecue, everything like that. But you have to understand the difference between the law and the spirit of the law. The spirit of the law, the reason for the law, never changes. That's the heart. That's the intent. That never changes. And when God wants us to live a Christian life, where do we have to live it from? We have to live it from the heart. So our heart has to line up with God's heart. Do you understand? So the reason why he gave even all the laws of the kosher laws of don't eat pork, don't this is that, was because they are unclean. And if not prepared correctly, and if not sanitized, the heart of it is God didn't want his people to get sick. He didn't want them taking impure stuff into their bodies. You know? The same thing about wine. Well, it's okay to drink, they drink wine in the Bible. Listen, the spirit of the law is don't drink alcohol to get drunk. That's the spirit of it. So, and then, back then, that was the only method of preservation that they had. Like, they didn't have refrigeration. They didn't have the technology to keep things cool and keep them from fermenting. So they had to work with a process that allowed the things, okay, this is going to be the natural course of it. How can we work with this? And so the intent of drinking wine and all of that stuff is, yeah, it's okay, but come on. It's all marketed as a good time, as a relaxer, as a comfort, as a soother, as a pick-me-up, as a party, as a this, as a that. Well, guess what? God never intended, he never intended, your attitude, your mind, your feelings, your emotions to ever be altered by any substance other than the Holy Spirit. Keys are always in whatever. I have no keys. So there's keys in my Tundra. There's a wad. I don't know what you're looking for, but whoever moved it, they probably hung it up. It's on the board. So you understand what I'm saying? So the heart, so even all of our laws today, they're intended. There's a spirit. Why did they intend and make that law? Now, by the time lawyers and politicians and the police and everybody get to these and they're applying the law, it becomes nothing more than a cat and mouse game. What can I get away with? What technicality can I get off on? But the spirit of every law, there was probably a good intention behind it. And okay, let's take the speed limit that drops down 20 miles per hour in a school zone. What's the intent of that? Be extra cautious around children. Okay? So when you begin to flow, listen to what I'm saying. When you begin to align yourself with the intent and the heart, and your heart now becomes pure and it becomes aligned with the heart of God, now you're functioning from God's intentions and your intentions. And technicalities, this idea, I go back to the thing was, back, it's like, no talking to the girls, no talking to the guys, right? And everything, and we send a guy he goes to the ER, and then the next thing you know, we get some call from a fiance, which is just French. Fiance is just a French word, right? Fiance, my fiance. Pepe Le Pew, he was so romantic. He had a skunk for a girlfriend and didn't know it. Fiance, my fiance. That's just a French word for who you're screwing now. That's all it's become. At least generally in this context here. Everybody likes to, oh, no, Pastor, that's my fiance. Yeah. And you'll have a different one. Funny how you're talking to 3 different women. Are they all your fiance? Does your fiance know you're writing notes and you're talking to this one? I don't think so. Anyways. So we get this call from this fiance. And we're like, yeah, how did Carl, so we bring, I'll call his name Carl. We bring Carl in. Carl, did you call your, whatever? No, I didn't call her. Well, how does she have this information? Why is she, why is she calling us out of the blue with information and stuff that she shouldn't even have? If you never called her. And we drill down. Have to ask 10, 15 questions. No. Oh, well, I gave the nurse at the receptionist at the front desk her phone number, and she dialed the phone. So I didn't call her, the receptionist called her. This is us. That's every single one of us. That's how the world, see, when you understand that the truth is a heart thing, it's not a technical thing. The truth is just, it's, you lay it all out there. There's no, I hope they don't I'm going to tell them part, and I hope they don't find out about the other part, because if they know the other part, then they'll see the real intent, right? We're always trying to cover our intent with a partial truth. Oh, I didn't lie. You don't even know what a lie is. I mean, in the sense of, this is not, we're not talking Perry Mason and CSI here. We're talking God looks at your heart. He knows what you did. So I'm just saying, when you're in this space and you're in this environment, the expectation is that you be transparent right down to your heart. Don't tell us a little this and a little that and a little that, and let me tell you, let me explain something. Let me tell you, you got to explain something. The minute I start hearing someone explain something, might as well be blah, 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 blah. My wife is real big on, you need to talk to this, you need to talk to this person. I said, why? I know the truth. And they're going to tell me something, a different version of that. And so it's an exercise in futility. It's a moot point. I don't need to do it. I don't need to waste my time listening to a version that is just filled with deception. It's an excuse. It's a whatever. See, that scripture, listen, the scripture, when you know the truth will set you free. It sets me free from all kinds of conversations that I don't have to have with people. No, I'm serious. Listen, when you know the truth, you'll stop wrestling so much with all this stuff on the surface. And you can just move on. It's okay. I don't have to inquire of the dogs who pooped on the lawn. I mean, the truth is, there's 2 dogs in our neighborhood. It was one of them. I don't need to go ask the neighbor and do an inquiry and get all worked up about it. Guess what? Dogs poop. Accept it. I know the truth. What am I going to do about it? That's the question. How do I feel about it? What do I have to, is there anything I have to do about it? Or is it just the fact that dogs have fleas, leopards have spots, dogs bark, they growl, they this, that, the other thing? I don't have to confront the growling dog every time. And listen, even so some of you are coming up in staff and stuff like that, you'll learn. You'll learn. I tell my staff here all the time, what do you expect? You know the truth about this person, right? I mean, generally if you live with somebody here for 60 days, this might help some of you out with some of your roommates. Why are you doing that? What the frick do you expect? You don't poke the bear, You know what this person's issues are. You know what they can do, what they can't do. Why you got to go there? Why do you even have to go there? You know the truth. Are you trying to create an incident? Now, if you have to accomplish something, here's the other thing. If you have to accomplish something, and you know that the truth is they don't respond well to a hammer, you have to know the truth about yourself. That guess what? Some people in this ministry, all they know how to use is a hammer. And they hit everything with the hammer. And the truth is, guess what? Some people you can approach like that. Other people, they're going to break down, they're going to cry, they're going to run, they're going to scream, they're going to fight you, they're going to this, they're going to that. And then the truth about that is, dude, you got to work on yourself as a leader and learn some different techniques. Because the truth is, the people that are coming through here ain't going to change. I've been doing this 16 years. I know everybody here likes to think they're special and they're unique and know I'm different and everything like that. But I can guarantee you I've probably had at least 10 or 15 of you. Very similar personalities, similar struggles, similar issues, similar trauma, similar, right? Okay? And I'm not saying it doesn't diminish your value as an individual and the fact that you were created in the image and likeness of God. But you understand, we're all humans, and we tend to, there's usually certain responses that you will get, if you poke somebody in the eye. I mean, there's about 3 responses you can get out of, depending on if their name is Larry, Moe, or Curly. Add in a Shemp, maybe. I don't know. But when you know the truth, you can start being set free from having expectations that don't line up with the truth. It's like, so we adjust our expectations. When we adjust our, you can write this down, when we adjust our expectations, it'll really help manage your emotions. Because you'll stop expecting a lion to act like a precious little puppy dog. When we adjust our expectations, it helps regulate our emotions. When I was first pastoring, right? I'm not making a salary. I'm funding the ministry personally. I'm selling property, vehicles. Y'all see I like vehicles. Well, I had vehicles. I liked vehicles before I started the ministry. But instead of buying vehicles, I was selling them, and then selling them to pay the light bill, selling them to pay the mortgage on the, selling them, And so, we didn't have any money. It was a while before we had one person on staff, and it wasn't me, and it wasn't Tracy. It was, it was our finance guy who did the banking and the accounting and everything like that. And he actually came through the program, so he was sold out to the ministry. But I would come in, and if I saw a soda can that wasn't put in the recycle bin, I'm going off. Like, we need that 2 cents. Y'all know this stuff's gotta go. Who did this right here? Get all the students around here. And it's like, what a ugly look, for the pastor to come in and be bitching about 2-cent aluminum can that got thrown in the trash instead of in the recycle bin. But I was very frustrated because I had all this pressure on me to keep the ministry afloat. And my expectation is that, for my students who for a majority of them have never had a lease, they don't have a driver's license, they haven't kept a job in a long time, just out of jail or prison, like, to understand the level of sacrifice or the level of, like, you know, the public and you guys don't understand. You know, the Chester thrift store, that's an $11,000 every month, $11,000. That's what we pay in rent for the Chester store. $1,800 electric bill. Boom. So right there, that's $13,000 every month before anything. Before any money comes to the HOJ, before any gas gets put in the van, before anything gets paid, the electricity, and so my expecting my students to comprehend that level of budgeting when most of them haven't ever had a budget or lived on a budget or, you know, whatever, is an unrealistic expectation. I can't put an unrealistic if I put an unrealistic expectation for a dog not to bark, I'm going to be emotionally upset every time I hear him bark. But if I settle in my mind, dogs bark. If I have a dog or if I'm around the dog, I expect it to bark. I'm not surprised. I'm not caught off guard. I'm not frustrated. It's going the way it's supposed to go. It's happening exactly as it should happen. It's happening exactly the natural way. You know, we have to remind ourselves here. You know, this is the coffee shop. It's new. There's going to be a million mistakes made. A million. You know, can't get upset about it. Can I adjust it? Can I fix it? But I can't get upset about it. I should fully expect it, you know, and put it in the proper perspective. So expectation and perspective go hand in hand. Expectation and perspective go hand in hand. So let's go back to God's perspective and his expectation and his original intent for his people. It's a heart thing. It's not a law thing. You understand? So this is why Paul would later come on and he's like, the law doesn't even apply to me. What do you mean the law doesn't apply to you? Where no one's above the law. And he's like, I live by a higher law, the law of love. See, if I fulfill the law of love, which love is a heart thing, it's an intent thing. It has to be deep in you. It has to be your wellspring. So Paul says, if my wellspring, if my origin, if my heart is to love God with all my heart, soul, and mind, and to love my fellow man with just as much passion, love my fellow man more than I love myself, then guess what? None of the other laws need apply. Do you understand? Why? Because now my intent. Why? Because, you know what? Thou shalt not steal. Yeah, I think that's covered in love God and love anybody you come in contact with. You're not going to steal. You're just not going to. Why? I love you too much to take from you. My love for you, now I'm aligning myself with it's more blessed to give than to receive. I'm not looking to see what I can get from you. I'm looking to see how I can serve you. Because, right? Jesus said, the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve.
Yep.
Right? Now, I'm aligning myself with a heart thing. It's a heart thing, and it's an intent thing. So now, I don't have a problem telling the truth, the absolute clear transparency down to my heart. I could actually get to the point where I say, well, you know, if I'm talking to the pastor or something, well, you know, pastor, I did mess up this weekend, and let me tell you how it happened, why it happened. I've just really been struggling and battling, and emotionally, you know, I just felt like nobody cared about me here, and I got a little offended when April said this or this happened, and so I got in my feelings, and then when I got in my feelings, that led me thinking that this place isn't for me, and we'll just F it, I'm going to go get high. And I fell to temptation. Rather than go, well, no, let me explain. Let me, and then you come up with kind of a half, like, truth, or no, it wasn't me, or she. No, there's like a real reason. But when your heart is right, you can go right into your heart and say what's on your heart. You know, well, I'm being distant because I was offended by something you said in your sermon, and I thought you were talking about me. And you can say what's on your heart. Instead of, no, everything's fine. Everything's fine. Oh, really? You haven't spoken to me in 6 weeks, but everything's fine. That ain't the truth. That ain't the truth. You know what I'm saying? So it no longer becomes a technicality. See? We're not living on saying that when you know the truth sets you free from having to make up stories. It sets you free from it sets you free from fear. Because listen, when you understand that I can tell the truth, and if I'm truly authentic, I can almost guarantee you any environment you're in, and they will accept the truth. But don't bullshit me. Because we can have a dialogue about, you know what, yeah, I did slip that into the sermon. Like if you were to come to me and say, I got offended, I think you were talking about me and everything like that in the sermon, and it might be like, well, you know, to be honest with you, I do know you deal with that issue and you struggling, and it was been brought to my attention, and yes, I slipped that in there, and that was maybe directed to you, but guess what? There's 20 other people in the room that are dealing with the exact same thing. I dealt with the exact same thing. So how can I help? I had to grow. I had to grow through that. I had to get past that. You know, we can't hold on to things. We got to let go of things, because if we hold on to things, then we're going to continue to get offended every time somebody touches that wound, or every time we get crossed in that, every time we come to an intersection with an individual who's rough around the edges. Every time you bump into somebody who has a different every single one of you guys have a little bit different personality, you know. And some of you are straight up, you know, like where you came from and the hardships you came from. Like you're just gonna, you know, take this club, whack somebody, you know, in the head with it, and then shove it up their rear and break it off and go, there you go. And you know what? That's like if you knew where that person came from, you know the truth about them. No, for real. If you know the truth about them and the stuff that they had to put up with as a kid just to even be breathing today, you'd be set free from being angry at them. You know, I think about, you know, Deborah, I mean Kelly, you know. Listen, I know Kelly has a very direct personality. She's not going to say please and thank you. I'm not going to say please and thank you. Okay? It's not because, let me just tell you this about me. It's not because I don't like you, and it's not because I'm impolite. I have a super one-track, and this is, let me explain. All right? I'm explaining. Oh, my goodness. I'm making excuses for myself. But it might help you get to know me, okay? I have a one-track mind. Like I get dialed in to things, you know? And that's what allows this place to be boom, 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 on point. And let me even say this, when you leave here and you go somewhere else, and even you know what, Chris, the guy from Carytown Coffee, he was down here at our grand opening, and his comment was, man, your crew did awesome, like awesome. He told me like 2 days before, he said, because they're a wholesaler and they're coffee consultants, and they service, you know, 200 coffee shops between, you know, here and North Carolina. And he said, I had, he said like 3-4 months ago, he said, there's a coffee shop that they service, and they were opening their fifth location. And it was all employees who had been already employed at these other 4 locations. So these were baristas. They knew their system. They knew the products. They knew all this and that. And this company goes to open its 5th site, its location. And, you know, the first week, the first 3 days, he's like, it was a shit show. Mm-hmm. And he's like, just, you know, expect it. Expect it. You hear what I'm saying? Like, so, I mean, he told me that 3 days ago, like on or last Friday or something like that. He told me that story. So now we have our grand opening, and he's like, man, like your people, like this was like, there was like maybe 3 things that we could have done better, but it's certainly, you would not say it was a shit show. It was like, for the fact that, you know, you guys are brand new, all your people are brand new, everything like that. He was like, wow, super, super impressed. It was very impressive. The reason, and we get that report from everybody when Regenesis students go to be employed, whether it's Chick-fil-A, whether it's McDonald's, whether it's Walmart, wherever. It doesn't matter if I'm sending you go out and you get a contracting job or whatever. It's like the caliber of people and the attention to detail and the attention to following an instruction, being thorough and being on point, you guys are getting that. You don't even realize that you're being changed. You see, you don't understand that Kelly serves a purpose in your life. For real. You know? And you know, when pastor doesn't say please or thank you or whatever, or he's just like, go get this, do this, you know, is because guess what? That's your job, okay? You're now on the job, right? And the job, if I'm hiring a roofing contractor, right? Because this happens all the time with small contractors. You know, you open up my roof and you don't get it done in time and it starts to rain or whatever. Can I just tell you, the customer is not going to care if your truck broke down. The customer's not going to care if your baby has pneumonia. Let me just tell you that. I mean, you can call and explain to them why, you know, it's threatening rain and you don't have the last 3/4 of their roof done. They don't care. You're supposed to work on your problems on your time. Don't let your problems become one of my problems. Right? I'm not paying you to listen to the fact that you got a problem, that you got a piece of crap for a truck, or that you don't have a backup plan for a babysitter or whatever. That ain't my problem. I hired you to put the roof on. It's about to rain. I didn't hire you to become friends. I didn't hire you for us to have a backyard barbecue, for me to understand your situation. You follow me? And so some of that directness or whatever that you get is really help subconsciously, day in, day out, waking up at a certain time, putting in, 10 hours of work. Guess what? I tell you, we're all in this same boat pretty much together. I was a C student with a high school diploma from, a West Virginia high school. If you can't put in 50 hours, 60 hours of work, if you don't have that kind of stamina, you're going to be poor. You're going to be poor. Period. Why? Because there ain't no, look, maybe if you were a doctor or a NASA or you work somewhere or whatever, and you could, show up at 9 and have your, luncheon with your whatever at your laptop and this and that, and then, go home and still make $80,000 a year, okay. It's also a reason why God brought you here, to be around me and my wife, who is Soldier of the Year, who she will tell you herself when it comes to academics and books. She's not dyslexic, but she does have, there's things sometimes when if she feels like she's getting overwhelmed, like her comprehension level, like it'll, it just kind of, now she's a super multitasker, but that also can get in the way of things. You know what I'm saying? And we all have our unique things that very distinct. But I'm just saying, if God brought you here, it was to show you, guess what? You can achieve high heights. Super high things. And it doesn't matter about your background. And it doesn't require money. And it doesn't require a college education. but you are going to learn how to work with intensity. Work with intensity. And then be willing to work 50 to 60 hours a week. Listen, it's no surprise. See, people, Mr. Jordan has said this, but a lot of the people that were here at the grand opening and at the friends and family and stuff like that, they can tell you. They've watched Tracy and I over the span of 20 years. It's not a surprise to them. Now, actually, they've come to expect, what are the McReynolds going to do next? For real. And it's not because we have money. It's not. It's just they see this synergy. They see this flow of hard work, consistency, faithfulness, sacrifice, and God. Why? Because all of those attributes, consistency, faithfulness, work, all of that, those are attributes of God. Love never fails. Love never gives up. Oh, guess what? I'm just saying, like, people could look at the McReynolds and go, my goodness, like, these people just don't quit. Like I said, Mr. Jordan will tell you, you know how many storefront ministries have been here in Petersburg for 50 years, started and closed and folded, and you know how many recovery homes have started and closed and folded, and you know how many recovery home people that had backing from Richmond even come down here, and we're going to open one in the Tri-Cities, and they start and rent and open and close and close and close. 16 years later, without any government funding, without any grants, very few donations from, there's churches that support us, but there's not churches that just, there's one that will give to us monetarily. But I mean, we get one particular church sends us $15 a month. Like $15 a month. My goodness, just freaking write a check for what is it? Write a check for $180 once a year and just be done with it. Right? I mean, that's like that. I'm just telling you. So how is this happening? Faithfulness from these two people that just all they have is a high school education. Come on. I tell you, when I say I'm a gutter cleaner, I'm a painter's helper at best. I mean, that's my qualifications. I didn't graduate. I didn't go to a 4-year Bible school. I went to a 2-year Bible training school. And I only made it through 1 year of that. If God sent you here, He sent you here to show you that if you get on your hands and knees and you sweat and you bleed and you sacrifice and you give big. Why? Because when you're all in, let me just tell you this, when you're all in, there's no giving big, no giving little. Why? It's given all. You understand what I'm saying? I gave my all. And I give my all. So if God was to come and say, can I have $20,000? Can I have your lake house? It's like, well, that's already been predetermined. That's already been settled. You have my all. So a lake house, a boat, $20,000, stroking a $20,000 check, giving this, giving that. I'm not. We'll go back to the heart, the intent. I'm in a flow with the Creator, in a heart space with Him. I understand that this isn't a law. I understand that it's His intent that when I give, and if He's asked for 10%, that's just that's like a handshake. That's like an agreement. That creates a partnership between. That's like me freaking going on Shark Tank and saying, I'm asking for $10 million, and in return I'll give you 10% of my Market Street coffee, and I get Mark Cuban as a partner. Now you can wrap your head around that. Yay, yay, yay! I can't believe it. For 10% of my business, I got Mark Cuban, this billionaire who's got all these contacts, can open all kinds of doors, can lend me money, give me whatever I need when I need it, got his personal number. I can just call him up and go, hey, Mark, your business, the one you're tied to, we're struggling here. Okay, Gary, let me come down, let me look at it. We'll come up with a plan and strategy, and we'll solve it, and here you go, whatever you need. Why? Because it's no longer my business, it's our business. See, so I'm not hung up on giving 10% to be a partner with God. He's now partnering in all my finances, all my financial decisions. See, that's the intent of the tithe. Like, that's what God, that's just God coming to you going, look, show me, put a little skin in the game, and I got you covered. All I want to see is that you're willing to show me that you can walk away from, like if you're so hungry, I don't want to be partners with you. I watch Shark Tank. You know how many times the sharks, the Cubans, the Mr. Wonderfuls, the Barbara Corcoran, whatever, all of them go, well, you know what, 2%, that's just not enough for me to get involved. Like, you're not serious enough. We can't have a serious relationship because people coming in asking for 2%, 5%, whatever. Nah. And they turn them down. I mean, almost all of them get turned down. I don't get up out of bed for, I don't answer your phone call for 2%. How do you know you're serious? Like I want to be, and most of them will say, listen, the more you give me, the deeper I will be in your business. I'll answer your phone call. Why? Like, the more you give me, the more you give God, the more He takes ownership. There's a problem you have to ask yourself is, why don't you want God to have ownership of everything? I mean, the better deal, what you should be wanting in your heart, for real, what you should be wanting in your heart is, I give God 90%. He's 90% owner. I get to keep 10%. And he runs this thing so well, and he puts so much favor in this. I barely have to do anything. And he's taken this thing from me when I had 100% control and I was struggling and I couldn't pay the bills and I couldn't meet the and I couldn't meet the that. But now since I partnered with God, and you know what? Each year I just kind of keep trying to think, I need to, like he's so much smarter than me. What if I gave him another 10% of control? And what if I gave him another 10% and another to the point where, guess what? He's doing it at a whole nother level. Like it's like stars and galaxies and roses. I mean, I'm in partner. Like this guy knows where the gold is buried. Like all the gold in the world. He knows where it's buried. Would you rather have 1% of 1% with him as a partner, or would you rather have 100% of your stupid, lousy piece of crud you're holding on to? I got 100%, it's mine. Or even 90% of it. Oh, you got 90% of it. His 1% of 1%. If he had 99.9% of it all and just slid you off that 1% of 1%, you'd be the richest man in the world. More than Elon Musk. But see, you don't see it that way. We're like, yeah, mine. So the intent of the tithe is, yeah, God wants it all. Oh, he has my heart. Well, then you don't understand the intent of what it is he says, where your money is, there's your heart. Where your treasure is, there's your heart. So, don't BS me, is what he's saying. He's saying, because if I truly have your heart, money ain't going to, me asking for 10%, 20%, 30%, 100% ain't no problem. You ain't going to have a problem with it. Why? I got your heart. I was raised by my wife, so she's in the military, right? And she's got shipped to Germany. I had to wait we got married, we eloped while she was in the middle of her schooling because there was a deadline. I wouldn't have been able to go to Germany with her. They wouldn't pay for me to go to Germany with her. She had to get married before she came down on orders. So we eloped while she was just got out of boot camp, but while she was in her schooling, and then she got shipped to Germany, and I had to wait 2 months before the military sent for me, and so then we get this little upstairs apartment out in Mainz, Germany. It wasn't on base. They didn't have any base housing. And so we had to scramble to even find a place to live. Had no furniture. I mean, just literally, it was rugs. The military had sent over some furniture, but it was so like, horrible. Just like that we sent everything back except for 2 lamps and a bed, and so. The apartment didn't have a stitch of furniture. And then the military messed up her paycheck. And so, like, back then it was for 1989, she was probably supposed to get So now everything's paid for, and I think her check was probably supposed to be something like $700 or $800, right, for the month, which was fine because, like I said, we really didn't have any bills except for food, right, and gas. But some clerk somewhere messed up, and so instead of us getting, her getting her $800 check, we got 80. And of course the military, big bureaucratic thing, it's like you go, you wait in line, just like you would do with Social Security or anything, right? You're trying to wait in line, get the clerk, oh, we have to look this up and look that up and blah, 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 and well, we don't see where oh, yeah, okay, yeah, mm-hmm. And the answer goes, well, okay, well, on your next check, which is next month, we'll get it straight. It'll all be worked out. Okay, we're in a foreign country. She's expected to get up at 5:30 every day and go to, do her thing. I don't have a job. How are we supposed to put gas in the gas tank? What are we supposed to eat for the next month? Again, we're talking about intent. But see, I was raised so, called her family, and now her family was middle class, and her family could have given us money, like just would have been like no problem. Okay, what do you need? Okay. But the people on her side of the family are like, well, I think, I don't know. Like, how'd you get in this? Almost like it was our fault. Like, I told you not to marry the bum. Deal. I could see this coming from a mile away. You got married a guy that can't keep a job and can't provide for you. Just, whatever. And you get this, song and dance and run around and everything like that. And I told Tracy, and again, remember, we're newly married too. So this is like, I'm like, well, we can call my parents. I said, I'm sure they have no money because they're just blue collar. They were just always live paycheck to paycheck. But we called, and I told her, I said, well, I said, the answer is they'll give you the shirt off their back, but that's probably all you get. You ain't getting no cash, because they don't have it. And sure enough, we called, and my mom, and they're like, I think I got $50 in savings. I can run down and get it, get it out and send it to you, and versus the other side that has it, and it's like, well, I don't know, and it wouldn't have been nothing, Eventually, her grandma on her side, I think gave us like $200 or something like that. But don't tell me about your heart. Don't tell me that God's got your heart, and then when you call up and you're in a bind, and that person has the means and they won't open their wallet. That's a heart thing. That's a heart thing. You want to be the kind of person that says, I'll give you all I got. That's a different level of heart. Do you know what I'm saying? I'll empty out my bank account for you. Why? Because you got my heart. I love you. I trust you. I know you. What's mine is yours, and what's yours, this is the kind of relationship we're in. So, this idea of people going, we don't have to give 10%. We don't have to. No, you don't. You have to give your all. You should be giving your all. Shouldn't be a problem for you to pay tithe. Don't be hung up on the 10%, but the amount should exceed 10%. The amount should be more than 10%, should be an offering. It should be, I want to give every time I can. I want to give as much as I can. Why? I believe in this more than anything else. This is what I'm saying. When we started this ministry, I knew that I was sowing into my future. I knew that anything I dropped into the ground was going to come back to me. Why? I know God. I'm in a flow. I'm not trying to figure out how can I not. Listen, if you only sow in 10%, you expect to get, how big of a harvest do you expect to get? I want to get a huge harvest. I mean, this is, you know what I'm saying? I've changed my intent. When you start changing your heart and you stop looking at it as a law, it was never meant to be a law. It was meant to be, let me have buy-in and show me that you got skin in the game, and the more you give, the more we're going deeper in this thing, man. Now you're starting to obligate me. You know what I'm saying? Not that we can obligate God, but in a sense we can. Just why? Because it's a relationship. Just, you know what I'm saying? Like if He's a God of love and I'm a God of love and we all have good intentions, I'm just telling you, if I have a buddy and he does something wonderful, like I'm going to start feeling bad. Like this dude just keeps blessing me and giving to me. I need to figure out a way I can bless him. Because we're in this relationship, and I don't want it to be one-sided. Guess what? God's the same way. Like, you think He's going to let some measly little human, like, do something wonderful for Him, and He's the wonderful, big, awesome God, and He's not going to feel like, oh my God, look at this guy. Dude's, I know how much he loves that car. And he's putting it up for sale. Why? To give it to the kingdom? Oh my goodness. I got to get him some, when it's his birthday, I'm going to, or what, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to just randomly, bless him with something. I'm going to make it, one day he's going to be driving down the road, stumble across something, look out the corner of his eye and say, oh my goodness, and then I'm going to lay it on this person's heart, just to be like, you know what, you can have that for half price. Why? And it's all God thing, in the heart of God, saying, this is how we function. But you got to get in that flow of the intent. And then you have to have that level, understanding levels of expectation and perspective, and you begin to flow with the heart of God, and supernatural things happen. When you're out here trying to do it all with scheming and planning and technical, and I guess I'll give my 10% because just because you think you're going to twist God's arm, like that's not the intent. You know what I'm saying? That's just not the intent. Like you should be leaping and jumping for joy that you got a partner, that you got God as a partner, and you only had to give up 10%. Like I see these people dancing out. I can't believe it. Woo! I got the biggest and best star. I got Mark Cuban to be my partner. Can you believe it? It was only 10%. I can't believe it. 10% of our company, and I got this awesome partner. Yeah, as you walk out of church, the preacher's just asking for money. You forget. Here they go. No, this is like, man, you get a chance to part. You got buy-in. You got skin in the game in this thing. The intent and perspective and the heart of stuff. When all of that stuff starts to shift and change, like, again, you're going to be like, how can I do more? God's got my all. But it's that way with everything. It's that way with your emotions, your resources. It's that way with your, how you forgive and everything like that. You got to shift that thing, and you're not doing it because you have to and everything like that. You're doing it because you're like trying to get in the flow. And when you get in the flow, things then become, things start happening kind of like, and you're like, man, I'm not even working as hard. Why? Because I'm not working it. I'm not working a formula. I'm flowing with the supernatural way that God operates. It's a heart thing, and I'm not always having to think about it and make decisions about it. It's not hard decisions. Like I said, it wouldn't be a hard decision for me to put my lake house up for sale and walk away from it. It just wouldn't be a hard decision for me. It wouldn't. Why? Because I've already given my all. I already made the decision that anything that's asked of me, He gets it. That decision's already been made. So it's just in what form is it going to take today? Like, here a little, there a little, it's settled. Like, I've predetermined how I'm going to respond to a headache. I've predetermined how I'm going to respond even if I was to get a diagnosis of some life-threatening, fatal disease or something. I already predetermined my response, my expectation. What? I mean, you can't. Does God have your all? Are you full of faith? Are you working up to that level, or are you still panicking when things happen? I'm dealing with an issue right now, and I'm having to adjust with dealing with the city. They're hitting me on they're hitting me on 28 Fillmore, and they're hitting me down here on Rolfe Street. Like, I got this guy, some bureaucrat, and man, I want to lash out. I want to, I'm just like, God, give me a plan. But I got to get God's perspective. I can't I have to remember, wait a second. And even if it is an attack, God knew about it. And He's got, even if it is Goliath, cursing and swearing and coming and wanting to kill me or whatever, I got to remember, wait a second. Both of those things are owned by God and part of His kingdom. Huh? Yeah. And so, I gotta say, okay, now how can I get out of my flesh? How can I not be, this is to be expected. This is what's been going on in this city for 50 years. New face, different name, same stinking city hall, bureaucracy, crap, So it's the dog that craps in the lawn. Figure it out. Don't let it, get you worked up. You know what I'm saying? Get in the flow. There's a flow in the Spirit. God knew about that before it happened. Before I got sent the letter, God knew about it. So now I have to say, God, what's your strategy? What's your plan? Why? Let me relinquish this to you. Let me get your mind. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ, right? He knew about it. So I have to do that. I can't be reacting and agitated and frustrated and so. But it applies to everything in your life. Everything in your life. Get into the flow. Understand the origin of why it's being requested of you. Everything that we ask of you here at Regenesis, there's a deeper. I could give you 10 reasons why it's good for you. And it usually has nothing to do with the actual rule. Okay? It doesn't have anything to do with the rule. Well, that doesn't make sense, and I don't see why. And no, I could give you 10 reasons, good reasons why, And you're right. It's the initial thing of why, the way you're looking at it, I'll give it to you. You're right. It's kind of stupid from that perspective. But when you look at it from this other perspective, oh, there's 10 good reasons. Okay? And so I'm just telling you, if you're here, and the reason why, we'll go back to the coffee shop, the reason why that went so smoothly is because you've got leaders that have been thinking about this and who are hyper focused and 3 and 4 levels deep of leadership who are talking and focused and trying to dial stuff in, and you guys are receiving that dialed inness, and you don't maybe realize that you're receiving it, but trust me, when you go somewhere else, they're like, how like, you're dialed in, like, they're going to see that you're dialed in more than anybody else. They're going to see, like, oh, they're not on their phone all the time. They're not taking breaks all the time. They're not this or that. They're not sloppy. They're attentive. They're focused. Like, And you didn't even realize that you were getting dialed in. That Kelly and Tracy and Pastor and these ones with all their intensity were actually dialing you in for your future, to be a success in your future. Okay? You're getting that. So, anyways, what time is it? Past time. All righty, guys. Have a good day. I was supposed to